Welcome everybody out to Utah in the Weeds. This is episode 88, and I am your host, Tim Pickett. Today's episode is a discussion with Daniel Mark Jones, a veteran. And this is a heavy conversation in two regards. One, his tours, and I'll let you just listen to it, Kosovo and Iraq. This is serious trauma that we don't give enough credit to those in our country, I think, who are willing to do this, right? Willing to go out and serve in this way. Just always very strong and powerful to hear these stories. But the second piece of his story with his experience getting a medical cannabis card here in Utah, and what happened to him and how he was basically fleeced for thousands of dollars, and just the opportunity that people take, I guess, to take advantage of other people, especially veterans. Come on. Anyway, great conversation. Very, very genuine guy. From a housekeeping perspective, I'm excited to release this episode. We've got our own Colin McCann next week, and going to record with him soon. Looking very forward to that. I've also got a product review that I've been doing on my own. Sprained my back over the past week and have been just debilitated and unable to walk, really. So been doing some research on my own with what's working best, trying to just recover a little bit. So stay tuned for that. Utah in the Weeds. Download and subscribe on any podcast player that you have access to. I'm Tim Pickett again. Enjoy this conversation with Daniel Mark Jones. First off, so we can get your name right, would you mind saying your full name so we get the pronunciation right? And tell me a little bit about you.
My name's Daniel Mark Jones. I was born in Salt Lake City, grew up in Wyoming for 20 years. In a small miners town of Upper Reliance, and that's about 3 miles from Rock Springs, Wyoming. That's where I joined the 1041st Engineers. I joined them November 13th, 1999. And it was living under a bridge. It was a -50. And I just couldn't do it. So I went and joined the service. I walked in the cold up towards the mountains, right over the college, right down to where the mall is, and I joined them. So I was able to join the 1041st, so it was pretty cool.
So what was that like? How old were you at the time?
I was 18. I was 18 working on my GED.
Yeah.
I was most of my life I was homeschooled. So mom was falling behind on her bills. Everyone else was able to go to public school, and I was stuck in my college, up at the college to get my GED.
Yeah. What was the service like?
The service, it was different, but for me, it was a life changer. I was able to get out and away from people that were going to bring me down. It got me away from the drug scene. It got me away from basically just destroying my life. It was an opportunity for me to leave Rock Springs, Wyoming. And that was a chance I took. One of the reasons for that is Rock Springs is called rock bottom. You're going to be stuck at the bottom of nowhere. And you're going to be stuck on either drugs or end up locked up. And that's something I didn't want to be. I wanted something better for my life.
Yeah. Did you ask your parents before you joined up?
I didn't tell anybody I joined.
What'd they say?
Basically, when they found out is when I was in Fort Leonard, Missouri, training. And they had us all calling our parents to invite them to graduation. And Everyone in my family thought I was dead, even my friends. They couldn't find
Wow.
me. I just disappeared. And when they found out I was in Fort Leonardwood, my adopted dad, he was stoked.
Was he?
He was.
Because one, you were alive,
Yes.
right? And they didn't know where you were. How long had you been gone before you contacted them?
It was about probably 7 weeks.
Holy cow. As an 18-year-old, you're living under the bridge, you join the service, you're gone for 6, 7 weeks. Yeah, I'll bet they were pretty excited to hear from you.
Yeah, he was pretty stoked. He drove 3 days to come to my graduation ceremony.
That is awesome. So, what was the rest of that like? Did you do tours? How long were you involved?
I did I did about 4.5 years in that game, and that pretty much put me in two different war zones. My first tour was in Kosovo in 2002. I went with the 54th Engineers Company, Bravo Company, out of Bamberg, Germany. They were short staffed on the soldiers, and they were looking for volunteers, and I was the first to volunteer out of my unit at Hanna, Germany. And that was an interesting experience there.
Yeah, talk about that. So it's interesting. I've been to Kosovo. I've seen the statue of Bill Clinton in the square, and it wasn't. I don't think it was there when you were there. Um, but talk about that a little bit and what you saw.
We we were stationed in Clocott. It's about probably 12 miles from Camp McGrath, and then about probably 45-minute drive from Camp Bondstill. And we were just right. We were in charge of checkpoint 417, and that's the longest checkpoint. You could look down the road for miles one way and one way the other. It was all flat, and it was a church in the middle. And we did a lot of our tour, our searches right there, vehicle searches. Um, a lot of our main focus was there.
What other war zone did you go to?
Everything around us was a war zone.
Was it?
Most of the people that were living in homes were destroyed by bombs. We were even protecting cemeteries. The Serbs, they would come and dig up the Albanians' graves and scatter their bones everywhere. They were pretty much ruthless. One race thinks they're better than the other and needs to annihilate the other race. And one of the things that we found there was a couple more massive graves where they lined them up and shoot them, and then just
Whoa.
dump the bodies in one big hole.
Wow.
Kosovo also is a minefield. About 90% of the minefields that have been planted were never recorded. So wherever you drive, you had to be careful. My unit, we were out doing our regular drive arounds. Just we ended up on a back road, and we ended up in the middle of a minefield. If I didn't ask the sergeant, asked him what was sticking up out of the ground out there, and stop the vehicle, we were probably about 10 feet from hitting that mine.
Wow. Is this is this something that you still deal with? Like, I mean, it sounds like you have some pretty vivid memories of this still.
I do. I do. I still remember that was pretty hectic driving in the minefield. And I was at the church guarding, and that's when the 7 bombs went off. It just constantly went off, one right after the other. Sergeant Burgess, Sergeant McDevitt, they were injured, and they were literally putting bombs on built people's homes and just blowing them up.
Hmm. So, what other war zone did you go to other than in Kosovo in 2002?
After Kosovo 2002, 3 months later, my regular unit, the 502nd Engineers, we end up going to Iraq just 3 months after I got back from Kosovo.
Oh, wow.
My unit was a combat unit, a multi-unit bridge unit. We were the river rats. We put the biggest world float bridge ever built in a war history, a 98 by 2 float bridge across the Tikrit River there, which is really funny because the river, it's not a very big river. It's like a creek. You can even probably just run across it and jump across. But Saddam's idea was if he blew the dam that was like 30 miles up the river, his idea was to try to take out the dam. It didn't work that way. And so we end up putting the float bridge across. And from my memories from that, that was pretty hectic. One of our sergeants in the boat, the boat went under and it dragged the sergeant down. He didn't pop up until 150 feet from the bridge.
Wow.
We're facing white waters. The river itself had blood disease in it. And if you go further up the river from the little town, the Tikrit, you could actually see the sewage dumping into it. People fishing, people washing their clothes in this river, just 5 feet from where the sewage is dumping into it. I mean, you sit there and wonder. It's like, wow, can't you just dump that sewage somewhere else? But they don't have
Yeah.
what we have, a cleaning facility for it.
Wow. So when did you get out?
I got about November 3rd of 2004.
Let's switch gears a little bit. When did you first get introduced to cannabis?
Oh, probably about 17 and a
Yeah.
half. But I wasn't a really big user of it.
Uh-huh.
It's not till about 7 years ago from today is when I got really into it. And one of the reasons I got into it is the VA likes to give a lot of pills out. And
I've heard that. I have heard that rumor.
oh, there's an escalator. If you ask my old lady here,
Uh-huh.
when we first hooked up, she found one of my Tupperwares and it was full of pills. And they keep sending me more and more and more. And there's pills I never asked for too, and they're sending me. And when someone with PTSD or has a flashback or has a hard time trying to get under control, a pill can only work for so long. It takes 45 minutes to an hour. If you do one hit of a cannabis, you're having a faster reaction of calming the person down. And that's one of the things I started using the cannabis for, was to help get me back in control of my life.
What was happening in your life that you needed to get control of?
Panic attacks, my anxiety was taken off. I was starting to actually see shadow figures walking across my living room. I always, even to this day, I still feel like I'm being watched.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I hear people walking outside around the house. There's times where I don't feel safe in my own home. And with the cannabis, it kind of restores my sanity back, knowing nothing's really there.
Yeah. Is it when you started getting into it, were you're just getting it off the black market, yeah?
Yes, I was.
And so did you really have a choice of what you were using, or it was kind of like, "Hey, I got this indica, I got this sativa," or, "Hey, I just got a bag."
It wasn't really much of a choice. It was just I got a bag,
Yeah.
and you're still paying. You were paying like $50 for a gram, or
Really?
3.5. You get like
Uh-huh.
$50, $60, but you're still paying pretty high.
Yeah. did you run into flower cannabis that ended up making things worse sometimes, or was it always helpful? Um, I guess I asked that question because now you have a little bit of choice in the process here, right? You can choose what strain you buy, who grew it, and when you're buying it off the black market, you don't really know what you get. And so I don't know. I know sometimes strains like a real sativa might make people more anxious. Did you ever run into that?
Yes, I ran into where the certain strands, I would like to say, Blue Dreams,
Uh-huh.
it left me with high anxiety. It got to the point where even my chest, I felt like my heart was trying to pound out of my chest. And compared to where I did something like blue cheese, which blue cheese has a different effect on me. It has more of a mellow
Yeah.
and calmness. And it's not something I'm more looking into. It's something to help with the calmness. Because I feel
Yeah.
I have a battle going inside my own head and in my own heart. I feel like I'm
Yeah.
always at war or being in a tug of war.
Yeah. Makes sense. What do you do for work?
I work for Love's Truck Stop. I am a maintenance man. I fix the pumps. I will get down in there, change hoses out, uh, pump handles, diesels, def handles. The pumps go down. I go reset the pumps. I make sure the store runs. I'm basically the backbone of the store, keeping it flowing.
Yeah.
People have a hard time with running their cars or they can't get their cars run. I go out and help them. If the elderly need help and they can't go in the store, they'll pay me. Then I go in, pay it, come back with their change
Their
and a
change.
receipt and hand it to them. And
Yeah.
it's we got it. We show our courtesy to our customers because that's who we need to keep going because they keep this country going. The truckers, they keep the fuel going, but it's our job is to make sure everyone's taken care of and helped.
It's it's really interesting to hear your story about joining the service and being 18 and see you were 17 and you didn't get caught up in drugs. You left that scene, which ended up being a good choice, but at the same time it caused you a lot of trauma. But staying would have caused you a lot of different trauma, probably.
It would have prolonged it.
Yeah.
That's what I felt like. And going through two different war zones and seeing a lot of the dead laying around, it's unnatural. And for me, you know, it's unnatural to take another man's life.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because when you take somebody's life, you're trying to be God or something. It is not our really our choice to take another life, unless it's to really defend your family or your country. But what Saddam did to his own people, it was wrong, and he needed to go.
Yeah. So fast forward to the program here, right? You're living in Utah, 2018 program. We legalized medical cannabis here. What are you thinking at the time?
I was excited. I was stoked, but I wasn't happy with how they changed the people's vote on the original Prop 2.
Yeah.
That kind of really made me mad because then that's taking the people's rights away and dictating another person's right into putting in what they wanted to believe.
Yeah.
I think Prop 2 was destroyed when the LDS Church got involved. And it's just wrong. If somebody votes on something and that's what we voted on, then that's what it needs to be, not changed. And I was really disappointed on that, but I was still stoked. It still passed through the laws.
Yeah.
And, like something when True Med came out, I jumped on it.
Yep. Yep. And that's one of the big reasons why we wanted to talk, is because this whole experience with Truu Med. And let's talk about that. What the hell happened?
So when Truu Med came out, they were about 90th south, and I would say 13th and 1400 west or somewhere like that. That's
Okay.
where they first started out, somewhere up in there. And they were charging a heavy penny. So me living all the way up here, gas was expensive. You're looking at almost 380, 375. And it took almost $120 just to fill the whole tank up in the truck.
Mm-hmm.
The old lady, she has brain damage, so I worked on her too at the same time. So first appointment, I took about $800, $400 for me, $400 for her to get it going. And I seen their doctor and all that. I was excited. I was stoked, and they gave me a signed letter from a medical provider. It turns out this medical provider is no longer with them. He pretty much lasted about 4 months, and he quit on them. And so they called. Whenever they would call me about 3 weeks to a month, and I come down and pay them another $300-$400.
This is how many weeks after?
About 6 weeks, but not 6 weeks.
6 months.
No, it wasn't even 6 months. They were having us come down every month.
Whoa, and paying them again. What date is this? What's the time frame of this happening?
Beginning on 10/20 of 2019.
Okay. So for context, I'm gonna mention what I'm doing at that point, right? I'm starting to look into getting to becoming a QMP. I'm starting to think about how I'm going to set up a business, how I'm going to start seeing people, thinking about insurance. I'm kind of looking into this because 2020 we're going to have a pharmacy open. So Truu Med is ahead of the game, so to speak, right? They're one of the first people out there. The only other person at the time that I know was writing letters was Corey Andon in Ogden. But Truu Med was out there. So you're going down there every month. You're having to pay. So what total amount did you end up paying them?
I've paid about $6,000. $6,000 came out of my pocket, and you got to put the gas in there too. It gets expensive.
Because where are you driving from?
Salina, and it's about a 2 hour and 20-minute drive to Salt Lake City.
Yeah. But you're not but there's no information anywhere else. So there's no way really for you to get information that tells you, hey, this isn't right. Like this is something you need to be concerned about, because there's no state website that's up really. There's no other cannabis clinics. Doctors aren't doing this. I mean, is that right? Am I getting that right? You're really only getting information from them. And they're telling you, hey, we need you to come back. We need you to renew your letter.
Yes. And
holy shit.
There's times where me and the old lady showed up, me and Casey, we did show up a couple times where there was no doctors. And they still took the money. But he gave us back $40 for gas to get back home. That was about it.
Who was this? Was this the guy who ended up in jail?
It was Troy Martinez. I tried calling them last week and the week before. The number on the website doesn't work.
Yeah, I think the guy, Ramon, he got arrested for kidnapping a woman and beating her.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, so interestingly enough, there was a news article that, and I think this is all, allegedly, I guess I should say. And, this is an opinion of us, right? Utah in the Weeds is a podcast. We're talking about things that we're trying to get the facts, of course, but we're just people talking. But yeah, Ramon was allegedly, kidnapped a woman, carved a number in her hand, and has been arrested because, yeah, it was a crazy, crazy story. But he's the owner, or was the owner of Truu Med, one of the owners of Truu Med, and there was a lot about Truu Med came out just in the past few weeks about this essentially predatory behavior, right? And I heard about this as somebody who does medical cannabis and who has been like pretty open and honest about what the fees are, what the costs are, what you get for your money, how long you get a card. Like that just seems reasonable, right? Like I don't see how you could charge somebody and take $6,000 from them and have you drive and the letters. I can see how I guess you would do that, but it is just crazy to me that this happened. You're not the only person that I've heard something like this from. This is certainly the most money I've heard of. How has that affected you financially?
I took a major hit. I'm struggling right now. And it's money I could have saved and used because right now I'm at home and I'm stuck with COVID. And I've been with this disease for about 8 days now, and it's really taken an effect on me. I
Well,
wished they have done something right, something different, because I could have put this money to something a better use.
right.
And for this problem now is I'm facing criminal charges.
Oh, okay, talk about that. What's that? What's that?
I got hit with 2 ounces because they didn't tell me how much I could have. I didn't get like how I got with ATHC, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me information about what I can carry, what I can have, or how much I have in my possession. Well, with Truu Med, I never got anything like that. So when I got pulled over about 30, 40 minutes from home, I showed the cops these signed letters I got from Truu Med. They just looked at me, and then they went and talked with each other. And the other came back and says, "We never seen anything like this before." I said, "What?" They said, "These signed letters from Truu Med." He said, "This is what they sent me and said I would be safe and I would be good." Pretty much the cop just pretty much looked at me and said, "Well, I'm thinking you pretty much got scammed out of it."
Wow. And then they still charged you.
Yep, it's my first offense with it, and I don't know what else I can do with it, but talk to the judge and let them know what's going on.
Yeah.
So I got a court date. My first court hearing on it is on February 9th in Nephi, Wyoming, Utah.
Wow. Well, we will all be in support. You got a community now, and hopefully if you need something, this gets cleared up because it sounds to me like, I mean, you're the reason, you're literally one of the reasons why this program exists, right? So it seems tragic that somebody like yourself can be taken advantage of in such a horrible way financially. And then on top of that, get charged for possession in a state where you have legal product, and 2 ounces is under the legal limit of what you can possess. You can legally possess up to 4 ounces of flour and, plenty of concentrates. So hopefully this works out in your favor.
I did get my card, my cannabis card.
Yeah, good.
What I was really impressed with HTT was that they stayed there, made me stay there until I got everything done and make sure it
Yeah.
was done correctly. And that's something that Truu Med never did.
Yep.
They got me all email set up with EVS and all that. So when I'm looking on the EVS, there's no doctors that I actually met with in Truu Med. There's not a record on it. And when I looked up the BBB reports, there's someone filed a complaint on Truu Med, and turned out to be a big mess because that far from what I read is that has never been resolved.
Yeah, I don't know that it ever will be, but I mean, I guess here's hoping. But I don't know whether or not we want them seeing patients anymore at all. Uh, at this point, I think there's been multiple red flags kind of come up, in my opinion,
I
on
think the
that whole
courts really need
organization.
to do a thorough investigation of these people because a lot of people, I feel like they're taking advantage of people who really need the cannabis
Yeah,
there's a lot of people who can't afford a lot of this money.
right.
And whatever they come up with, they're taking advantage of them and robbing them.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to be put a stop to it.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So, question on your use too. Now that you have Utah product, and what's your favorite pharmacy?
You know, the one I've been going to so far is the one in Provo.
Deseret Wellness. Josh Fitzgerald is the pharmacist down there. I like that place. Nice, easy access off the freeway. Pretty cool people.
And they were very, very helpful. And they took care of us, took care of me and the old lady. And it's the best place to go.
Cool. I'm glad they got a good recommendation from you. Are you're buying mostly flour there?
I bought the flowers, but I'm also buying the edibles for sleep.
Yeah.
I have sleep apnea. I got a sleep
Mm-hmm.
problem.
Nice thing about cannabis is it doesn't make you breathe worse, like opioids, and I think it's safer than Ambien too. So the gummies last all night, right? Is that you got a favorite?
Oh, I got a favorite. This one I bought is called Calm True North Organics.
Yep.
It is one of my favorites because it's if I need to, I could take half of it and I sleep like a baby. I don't wake up during the night.
Yep. And with with somebody like yourself, with the nice thing about edibles is they suppress dreams too, and not only make you sleep a little better, but they suppress a little dreams, so you actually sleep better, especially if you suffer from PTSD or nightmares. And with sleep apnea, do you wear a mask?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so you need to shut it down at night.
There's times that mask gets in my way because then I feel like I got a chemical mask on.
Ah,
It drives me nuts.
yeah, I could see that. That'd be hard.
Yeah, it is.
So, what's your favorite strain to use? In we'll call it vaporize, right? Smoke or vaporize. You got a favorite strain of flower?
My favorite strain is probably more of a sleeper.
Yeah,
I pretty much like something that's going to calm me and relax me down more.
yeah.
I already feel like I got enough hyperactive during the day.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like at night, when I'm wide awake and sitting there laying, I feel like I'm hyperactive because my ears are listening to everything. I hear every little creaks on the boards all the way down to hearing something walking on the gravel around the house. So
Uh-huh.
it makes me get up and want to go out and look, feeling like I'm back on guard duty, doing my fire watch.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also taking care of the pain in the joints. It's taking care of the pain in my back. It just it's been a miracle helper ever since.
That's cool.
Like I said, it's a lot better than taking the pills.
Yeah, it sounds like you're able to control it better, right? You're choosing. You're in the driver's seat,
Yes,
where before it didn't sound like you felt like you were driving.
but it kind of sucks because with the VA, half the VA's for it, the other half of the VA's against it. They're still split on that decision,
Mm-hmm.
and so you sit there and wonder. It's like half the doctors say if it's working for you, then continue using it. The other half says, well, you're a bad person for taking it. And
What?
I've run into doctors like that.
What do you say to them?
So, well, at least I'm not getting hooked on something. Since at least cannabis, you can quit and not affect you in any form like an opiate does, or like an Ambien. I was on Ambiens for a while, and Ambiens hit people differently. You could take it the night before, wake up in the morning, fine. 2 hours later down the road, you could be sleep driving from your Ambien from the night before and not realize it. And one of the things I think they don't like people on cannabis is because they are losing their money on their pharmacies.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I mean, I guess it could be. I hope that's not true, but it certainly could be true.
The VA has an escalator going straight to the pharmacy and home.
Do they?
Oh, yeah. There's times where I sat waiting for 2 hours just to pick up my medication because the pharmacy's filled with vets waiting for their medications.
Wow. Do you know a lot of vets who smoke weed?
I know probably like 10 of them.
Do you find that your family and your family and friends are pretty supportive of your cannabis consumption? Like, what's going on with you?
Yes, they prefer me doing the cannabis. And one of the reasons for that is I'm not on opiates and I'm not a raging alcoholic. Because if you actually look at the statistics, a lot of vets are alcoholics. They drink and drink and drink. When you're in the service, what do? We drink and party, drink and party.
Yeah, and the only options are not marijuana, not cannabis. Right? So you got alcohol.
Yep, and they're a big supplier of alcohol, the military is.
Are they?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was in Germany, in Hannah, Germany, my wall locker, I had like 6-7 cases of beer, 4 bottles of Jack Daniels. I mean, it was always stocked in there. We drink every single day, every night. And one of the things I'm happy is I don't drink.
Congratulations.
The cannabis helps out with that.
Is there something else that you want to talk about, you want to bring up, you want to make sure everybody hears?
Yeah, I just want everybody to know is that they need to stay away from Truu Med. Those who've gone through Truu Med and been screwed over by Truu Med, they need to come forward and put a stop to it. We do better as a group than one single person trying to take them on. And if everybody who's had the problem with them, if everybody came together as a team, we can do something about it.
Well, absolutely.
That's what I really needed to let people know.
Well, if you're listening to this podcast on Utah in the Weeds and you want to make a comment or you want to share an experience about Truu Med or another clinic that took advantage of you in the system in Utah, let's do this. Let's go to YouTube, our YouTube channel. It's called Discover Marijuana. This podcast is posted on that YouTube channel. Make a comment there on this episode, and we'll start a little group of people there. If there's people who have stories, make a comment. Again, Discover Marijuana. This podcast with Daniel Mark Jones. This has been a great. I am glad to get to know you, man.
Same here, Tim. It's really good to see you and meet you this time.
If we can do anything for you and help you in any way, you reach out to us. Shout out to Deseret Wellness, who's helping you get your medicine. I love those guys down there. Stop in next door. We've got an office right there, and we'll hook you up with a sweatshirt, Utah in the Weeds sweatshirt. Next time you're up there in Provo.
Sweet.
All right, everybody. Exciting times in Utah as the legislation, gets kind of underway, and appreciate you listening. This has been great. Stay safe out there.